So
Okay, no worries.
This is the Oregon Senate District 14 race. And this morning we are speaking with Dick Schouten and Kate Lieber regarding their candidacy for this race. Mr. Schouten, could I have you open us up by giving us a brief statement about who you are and why you're running?
Well, I'm Dick Schouten, and I've been on the Washington County Board of Commissioners for the last 20 years. So I've been a local legislator for quite a long time and deeply involved in the community. And this district is overwhelmingly a Washington County district, and I know a lot of the people in it. I've walked it, canvassed it, been to countless town hall meetings over many years, and have had good success as a local legislator in Washington County on the board. And I think this is an opportunity to work at the state policy level. I've been frustrated by the state Senate stopping a lot of good bills that came out of the House. And so I'm looking to be the progressive candidate that really knows Washington County, which is, I said, overwhelmingly this district, and look forward to seeing more good bills pass and be signed by the governor.
Great. Ms. Lieber.
Yeah, thank you. So I just want to tell you a little bit about myself. I grew up in Indiana, and one of the foundational things that you should probably know about me is that I was gay in Indiana in the 80s. And back then it was Dan Quayle, and now it's Mike Pence. So I know what it's like to feel powerless and unseen. And one of the things that I never wanted to feel powerless again, and one of the things that actually motivated me to go to law school, which I did. That's where I met my wife. We've been together for 27 years. I moved to Oregon in 1995, got a job in the district attorney's office, prosecuting mostly child abuse cases and domestic violence. After leaving the DA's office, I received what I consider one of my life's battle scars, which is I was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer when my kids were really young. It was really hard. I saw our broken healthcare system up close and personal. And I know that no one should have to fight to pay the bills while they're fighting for their lives. While I was battling breast cancer, I got a call from the governor's office, and they asked me if I would sit on the Psychiatric Security Review Board. It's a board that has jurisdiction over people in the state under a guilty except for insanity designation. I sat on that board for 8 years, and it really gave me a sense of sort of how government works. It also showed me the problems in our mental health system. After rolling off that board, I was really interested in the intersection of mental health and homelessness. So I I joined a nonprofit called Transition Projects, which transitions 1,000 people a year out of homelessness into homes and runs shelter beds, and I currently chair that board. But fundamentally, I'm actually a teacher at heart. I've been teaching at Portland Community College in the criminal justice department since about 1998, and have taught there pretty consistently. But the question of why am I running and why now? Well, a couple of things happened. First, 2016. Look, as we watched Trump roll back every single value that we hold dear, I knew that we had to have the strongest state legislature that we could. But I thought we were in pretty good shape. We have a Democrat governor. We've got a supermajority in the legislature. And then 2019 legislative session happened, and the Republicans walked out the first time. I knew then that it was more broken than I thought. And one of the things that was really important to me is that I am a person that is motivated by getting things done. So when this opportunity came up, I knew I could no longer sit on the sidelines. Look, all of my career, I've been fighting sort of to equalize the imbalance of power. My core motivation is I'm tremendously driven. I am someone who needs and wants to get things done. I know now, especially with the pandemic that's happening and the really important things that are going to have to be made and the decisions that are going to have to be made at the state legislature, the stakes are too high. So That's why I'm running. That's why I'm here today. And it's why I'm asking for your support in my run for the Oregon State Senate.
Yeah. Well, I would add that I haven't just been talking about doing stuff, but I actually been doing lots of things on the county board for years. I've served on a number of boards that are big players in the district. Everything from the Homeless Policy Advisory Committee to the West Side Transportation Alliance, to the Central Cultural, which is a major Hispanic services organization. I've served on those boards, help raise money, set policy, really get the county involved in terms of funding and support. I've been a player that knows how to work well with other people who have different views and policies and programs. We've got a proven record as a county commissioner for a number of years, and this county, I think, has functioned well. We have a strong budgeting policy, and we've been able to work on programs that have been sustainable and have continued on, and have made some significant progress with homelessness in the last number of years. We're finishing up our current 10-year plan to end homelessness.
Mr. Schouten, would you point to a certain accomplishment that you feel makes you the best candidate for this seat?
I would say a couple of things. One is that working with the Tualatin Hills Park and Rec District, we were able to establish a clear annexation policy, which now requires that for any building permits or any kind of land use approval, that annexation is something that's required for any of the special districts, including the Tualatin Hills Park and Rec District. I would also say that we've made some significant progress in terms of making land donations to the various nonprofit home builders from remnants of road projects. So we've been able to launch affordable housing projects at 170th and Bainey for folks who have mental health issues and are homeless. We're a significant player in getting housing for 120 affordable units at Baseline and 185th. We're currently working with Community Partners for Affordable Housing to build another 100 units at Murray and Cornell. And so those are some very tangible things. I've been involved in park acquisitions all around the county. We had about a $1.2 million green space local share program, and rather than just spending that on one property, the county board put me in charge of using that relatively modest amount of money to provide seed money, and I was able to seed 3 or 4 major park acquisitions, including a 30-acre hilltop property in West Beaverton, the Craig Dirksen Nature Park in Tigard, the first piece of open space acquisition in Bull Mountain, because that's an unincorporated area and has no park provider, as well as a special field for special needs athletes. For example, people in wheelchairs can play on this $1.5 million special field that's built very specifically for them at the Mountain View Champions Park in Aloha.
Very good. Ms. Schouten, Ms. Lieber, same question.
Look, I have, throughout my career, I have fought for the underdog as a prosecutor prosecuting child abuse cases. I've fought for those victims, and I really literally made life and death decisions. I chair transition projects, and we are doing amazing things with regard to helping to solve the homeless issue. I was the board chair of the PSRB for 5 out of the 8 years that I was on it. We made tremendous progress with getting people out of the hospital in a time that it was really important to stop spending so much money by housing people at a hospital level when they didn't need to be housed at a hospital level. But I think the fundamental question here is who you would send to the Senate is, what does the Senate need? And the Senate right now, the Senate really needs to have some impatience to it. I think the Senate has been complacent and siloed for a long time. And you really, really need to send somebody to the Senate who's got the fire to not only make sure that they stop being complacent, make sure you give them some impatience, which is what I have, and make sure that they can get things done. I mean, look, I can talk to you about my things that I think we need to do to fix the Senate, and I'm certainly happy to jump in on that.
Well, we'll bounce back to that question in a moment.
I think that Kate doesn't have a monopoly in terms of impatience. I share her impatience with the state Senate. I'm not at this point. I would not support Peter Courtney for the state Senate. I think we need a new leader and a new spokesperson there. I go every year to the annual business summit, and I think the kind of presentation that Peter Courtney makes, long hour, sort of disheveled kind of presentation, is not the kind of spokesperson that the state Senate needs. A couple other things. Apparently, the state senators never go and visit the House members. I will be shuffling back and forth. I'll be walking back and forth between both the wings. I'm very active. I'm very fit. And I see no reason why I can't shuffle back and walk back and forth and meet with the House members in their offices, and not always expect the House members to come to the state Senate office. And I also think that the caucus votes should be an open kind of a situation where all the caucus members know how the other members are voting on issues. Apparently, they do it by secret ballot, and they drop their positions on particular bills into a hat or something, and no one really knows where the state senators are in their caucus kind of discussion things. I think that,
I'm curious, how would you prevent a walkout like the one that we saw derail this last legislative session and the session before that?
Well, we clearly have to change the quorum requirements. The quorum requirements are unrealistically high. So that's going to take a little bit of time. That's going to take a constitutional amendment, from my understanding. But having a requirement for 40, for example, on the House side, and the counterpart in the state Senate is too high a number. I would advocate simply a bare majority.
Okay, Ms. Leader, same question.
Sure. Look, our democracy is an issue when the Republicans walk out and stop doing their job. I'm not so naive to know that this was something that has been used by both Democrats and Republicans over the years. But when the Democrats walked out, they walked out to make a point that they weren't being heard, and they came back and did their job. When the Republicans walked out, they walked out and said they weren't being heard, and quite frankly, that was not the truth. Then they walked out and left, stopped doing their job. And the one thing that happened was that they got rewarded for it. And so then they got rewarded for it, so they kept doing it. This is a problem that Oregon is going to have to solve. I agree that we're going to have to change the quorum requirements. We may have to penalize them for not showing up, but it is very important that we don't continue to reward the bad behavior.
Do you see a way in which you would practically do that? Would you fine them? Would you send the cops? Would you make sure the cops had more guns? What would you do?
Yeah, well, look, I definitely would think about fining them. I would definitely think, obviously we need to change the quorum requirements. We're going to have to change the Constitution. So that might be a further fix that is out. But right now, absolutely fine them. Right now, if they don't show up to work, maybe we try to figure out a way to get down to the requirement or around the quorum requirements if they fail to show up. There are fixes out there that we need to do, and we need to do them fast, because we cannot have a legislature that walks out and doesn't work.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The only thing that I would say is that one of the first things I would like to do is get a thorough legal analysis about what the state Senate president or the speaker can actually do. Can they, in fact, is it possible for the for state troopers or other law enforcement to come and physically bring them to the floor.
Only if they're in Oregon, you
they,
can't go over state lines to get them.
Yes, well, I would certainly would take a fairly aggressive view in this. I mean, whatever the law would allow, certainly, it might even talk about if I was the majority leader of the state Senate president, I'd say, listen, I'm gonna put a device on me, strap something on me that's going to let people know exactly where I am at all time. I expect the same thing to occur with the minority leader, because there really would just be a discrete number, no more than one actually, or excuse me, I guess two in the case of the House, one or two in the state Senate would actually have to be there. So, I mean, I think we'd have to be, I think we should push it as far as the law would actually allow us to do this. But in the final analysis, it really is going to require changing the quorum, which is unrealistically high. And of course,
putting an ankle monitor on state officials, frankly, strikes me as a great idea, given that we can't trust them anyway. So need to know where they are.
If the law allows that, I mean, I spent years as a government lawyer. The first thing you have to do is see what the law actually requires. So I would love to see, I don't know, I don't think there's even been a memo prepared on this. I'd love to see what a good legal analysis would tell us is what are the various tools available to require representatives and state senators to be inside that building or on the floor.
I feel like you have a response that you're dying to get out here. So.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look. I mean, we carry cell phones around. We know where everybody is. It's not a matter of trying to figure out where everybody is. That's not going to solve the issue. We absolutely have to do everything that we can in our power to make sure that we get this issue solved. We cannot allow them to continue to walk out and derail our democracy. But really, I think fundamentally, the problem in the Senate is that they have a cultural problem. They've got a cultural problem, and it is, I think that we have problems not just with the Republicans walking out. We've got problems with our progressive Democratic caucus. They're not that progressive. They don't caucus that well. And it's important that we understand that we've got to fix our own house as well. Look, cultural at the Senate, I mean, I would be the first openly gay state senator. I would be younger than 80% of the sitting senators, and I would be one of only one, I would increase the number of women, which only stand at 1/3 of that body. If you're talking about shifts in the Senate, you've got to talk about the cultural changes. You've got to talk about the representation changes. Look, I am someone who who brings people together. I have a sort of, a somewhat engaging personality. I'll let you be the judge of that. But I work closely with my colleagues, and when appropriate, I'll go across lines. But that's not to say that I'm not going to be a catalyst for change. I am a catalyst for change. I will disrupt the processes where they lead nowhere. And I am not interested in sitting in endless committee meetings. I'm interested in making sure that the Senate works for the people, and it's not working for the people right now.
Yeah. Well, no, I think part of the.
And then I have another question.
Yeah. Right.
Go ahead.
I was to say, I think part of the job is in fact sitting in endless committee meetings. But in addition to that, I'm not going to the state senate just to by the old rules either. And I have a high level of impatience with some of the sense of specialness about the state senate. I remember a couple of years ago, I was lobbying very strongly for a drug take-back bill, which was ultimately successful. But I was working and lobbying with the former Ways and Means chair, Richard Devlin, and he was going on and on about the differences between the institution of the state senate and the House of Representatives. And at one point, I just said, people really don't care, and frankly, I don't really care about the institutional differences and what makes the state senate special and different from the House. I'm really interested in passing this really good bill, a drug take-back bill. And the great 99.9% of the people who are outside this building really don't care about those differences, and I expressed some real impatience about that. And again, to circle back.
From your vantage, how is Kate Brown doing as governor during the COVID-19 crisis, and how can she be helping Washington?
Helping. I think I've lost you. Have we lost you?
He'll come back.
Okay. Uh-oh.
Oh, Tess, we can't hear you.
We can't hear you, Tess.
There we go.
There we go.
Sorry, I'm back.
Yeah.
I cut out there for a second. I was going to ask, Mr. Scouten, from your vantage point in Washington County, how is Governor Brown handling COVID-19? How can she help Washington County more?
I think she's playing it. I think she's playing it about right. I think that her fairly early and aggressive stay home, stay healthy, and the rollout of the emergency declarations and all that at the state level have proven to be positive and timely. Looking back in time to earlier and the more aggressive we could have been, the quicker we could have flattened that curve. But when we look at all the other states across the country, the three Pacific states, three Pacific Coast states have done pretty well. We in the county we have enough. We have enough of the equipment, and we do have. As a state, we do we're in a position where we can handle the high point of the surge point. So I would give Governor Kate Brown a fairly high marks for timeliness and decisiveness. As far as helping Washington County, I think she's obviously, you know, we can always use more supplies and equipment. We're perilously close. We're meeting. We have what we need, but to the degree that she's able to provide additional safety equipment, and that would be. I think that's one area that we're very close to being on the edge of.
Ms. Lieber, what do you see from the governor? How would you grade her at this stage, and what could you use in your district?
Yeah, so I think that, you know, she's, it is hard to judge people in retrospect on their decisions. I think she made some really difficult decisions at a time and listened to a lot of people. You know, we were sandwiched between, you know, we were like on the doorstep of Washington that was having this huge outbreak, and sandwiched between Washington and California. And I think her actions and her decisions should be judged by where we are now and where we're going to be. I think by judging that, she's helped us flatten the curve. I think she has helped us flatten the curve to the point where she feels it's okay to even send 140 ventilators to New York, where people are dying. And I think that that's a very brave decision on her part, and very compassionate. I think she's done a really good job. My concern about and what's happening, especially in sort of Washington County around this, is my concern is coming in through my as a prosecutor. My understanding is that we're not doing a very good job on serving our FAPA orders or our violence orders against women right now, because all of our service processes in Washington were non-sworn. And one of the things that is really concerning me, and I've got to call into Pat Barrett, is this idea that we're not using sworn officers to serve these orders, and that's placing women and, quite frankly, children at risk, because we know that domestic violence is absolutely spiking in this. So we have to look at this issue from the medical standpoint, but we also have to look at this issue from, we've got people in their homes, and the problems that were there before COVID are still there now and are amplified in a way that we need help.
So in order to try to make a decision in this endorsement, I'm going to ask what may seem like a fairly aggressive question, but I'll start, Kate, with you. What's a place where you and your opponent disagree on policy that you would see as being crucial to this decision?
Yeah, so, look, in a Democratic primary, I don't think you're going to get a lot of disagreement specifically on policies. I think that we're going to be aligned on many of our progressive values. I think the difference really is that I'm going to offer sort of my nature and my leadership. I think is a unique asset. I think that I am highly effective. I don't want to take anything away from Dick. He's been a county commissioner for many years. He's been a public servant. But I think the difference is what's going to get passed in the Senate is going to be different if I win than if Dick wins. I believe that I am a champion, that I'm a fighter, that I am impatient, that I am a leader, and that I can change the culture of the Senate simply by going to the Senate. So I think that the value proposition of whether you send me or whether Mr. Scouten goes is a huge difference. And in this day and age, especially with what is happening, is we need politicians who have got a fire under them, who understand that they need to bring people together and bring people along with them and can fight to do that. And quite frankly, that is my whole personality. That's what I have done throughout my career. And I believe that I would be the most effective person to do that in the Senate.
Dick, same question to you. What would be the difference, and why should we pick you over her?
Well, I think the difference is not the difference between a fighter and determined and stubborn, because my family and my colleagues will tell you that I'm stubborn, that I'm determined, that I'm energetic,
Aaron just left.
that I'm passionate. So I don't think those are the differences. I don't think that Kate has a monopoly on those qualities. I will say that she has those qualities, but I have those as well in spade. But I think the difference is that this district is overwhelming. It's like 98% Washington County. I'd like to see someone who actually lives in this county represent a district which is so overwhelmingly a Washington County district, who understands the players. I'm in the Tualatin Hills Park and Rec District. I'm in the Clean Water Services District. I live in the Beaverton School District. My kids went to the Beaverton School District. These are all important constituents and people who need to be adequately represented. I've worked long and hard with the Aloha Tomorrow program to help establish the Aloha Library. I've been to countless lunches with the Aloha Business Association, gotten to know them, and as they've learned to become an effective chamber for the Aloha area. I've worked hard for parks and open spaces for the Aloha area, which has been under parks. I mean, I really know this place. I've been proven leader, really understand, know, and work at this place. And Kate's new. Her focus has been to the degree that been more Portland focused, Multnomah County DA, but Washington County has its own dynamics, and it's a part of the region. But to really know and understand this place is really a critical part of being able to effectively represent it in the state legislature. And I would be ready from day one to be able to really represent this district.
I think it's disingenuous to say that because I don't live in Washington County, I can't represent the district of which I live in and of which my children have been going to school in that district. So I think that's really disingenuous. What I would say is that how often
have you been at the Pepper Mill in Aloha? You know where it is?
Here's what I'll tell you, Dick, and I'll tell you guys. I have 28 organizational endorsements from people who are in this district, from the chair of THPRD, from the chair of Washington County commissioners. I've got people who believe that I can do this. I've got 28 organizations who believe I can do this and know that I can represent. And the real question is who is going to be able to represent and change what's happening in Salem? We cannot do it the same way that we have always done it. We need to act differently, think differently, and act urgently, and that is what I will do.
Well, I've been doing those things for 20 years.
I think we understand at this point where the difference is. So I think it's stipulated. Dick, day one, what's the first bill you're going to pass or introduce?
The first bill that I would like to pass would be on cap and trade, and to see about income taxes becoming truly progressive in this state.
Kate, same question.
Yeah, so the first bill that we're going to have to pass is we are going to have to solve the issues that the pandemic has created. We're going to need to get businesses back up and running. We're going to need to make sure that our safety nets are in place so that we don't create more homeless issues than we already have. And I think, quite frankly, that issue, making sure that we get Oregon back working again, is going to be absolutely the first thing that has to happen at the legislature.
Kate, this is the point in the process where we allow each candidate to ask the other candidate a question. Do you have a question you'd like to ask Mr. Schouten?
Yeah, sure. You know, I know that you have served your community for many years. You've been a county commissioner for, I think you said 20 years. I mean, you've done this a really, really long time. How is Washington County different because of your participation in the community than it was otherwise?
I would say we have a lot more parks and open spaces. We've got a lot more bike trails. We have an Aloha library that's now in place. We have special districts that no longer are no longer seeing holes in service as we've been developing our county and building a lot of new housing. Those areas are all being served by the Tualatin Hills Park and Rec District, for services. There aren't the kind of gaps in services that there used to be because of the annexation requirement that I really helped push forward. And we have a drug take-back policy in Washington County that ultimately pushed the state to pass a drug take-back bill statewide, which makes our community a safer place, a more equitable place. And we have a number of foundations, such as and organizations like Central Cultural and Community Activation, which also support them, that are more effective players in serving more people in their community because of the fundraising and additional support that I have. That I persuaded our board of commissioners that we need to be more involved in these organizations because they play critical quasi-governmental roles in our county. And
you were the leader on all of those things.
I played a very major role as leader in those cases. Absolutely. That's why I bring them up, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. A question for your opponent?
What do you think are the issues that you would be concerned about with respect to the Aloha area, which is about a third of the district?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think what is happening in Aloha is happening in the rest of the district. I think that people in Aloha are very concerned about the education system that's happening, especially now. I believe that there are affordability issues that are starting to creep into Aloha in a really profound way. It used to be the place where people could move, where they could have housing that was fairly affordable, and that is actually they're being pushed out, and that's being taken away from them. And of course, I believe that everybody in the district cares about healthcare, especially in this time of a pandemic.
Tess, do you have any questions to the candidates in this race that you haven't asked yet?
I don't think I have any follow-up questions at this time. Maybe we should just do like the wrap-up.
Why don't you ask the wrap-up question?
Yeah, can you each do like a 2-minute summary of why you think Willamette should endorse you for this position? And I will cut you off at 2 minutes. All right, and why don't we start?
Sorry, what?
Let's start
with me. Okay, yeah. You just keep cutting out. Okay, great. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Look. I think that the main issue is who do you think are going to solve the issues that we are happening in the state Senate? And I am just going to go back to sort of my main and core motivation about this. I have demonstrated throughout my career of fighting for children and domestic violence victims, of fighting for the powerless. I have demonstrated my commitment to fighting for the homeless by joining the board of transition projects. And quite frankly, for 2 decades, I've been a teacher at Portland Community College in a very important, I think that the public education that's being offered by that is very important, and it's something that I take very seriously. But beyond that, I think that you need to figure out who is going to make the difference in the Senate, and the Senate is what's not working. We cannot go back and do things the same way that's been done. And I cannot stress that enough. And I believe that I am the difference maker in this race. I am the one that is going to change the culture of the Senate, and I am the one that is going to have the fire and the power to get these things accomplished. I think that one of the ways that I will do that is by bringing my colleagues together, is by reaching across the aisle, but it is also by being a catalyst for change. And I think that we need a little more of that fire and a little more of that moxie in the Senate.
Great. And then, Mr. Scouten, would you like to do that wrap up?
Yes, I think we need someone with experience who really knows and understands the district, who has lived here, who's worked here, who's been deeply involved in Aloha and at Beaverton, in the Washington County part of this district, which is, again, is overwhelmingly the state Senate. Someone who knows the constituents and the players, who really understands this district, but also has proven to get things done, to be able to work with a board that was Republican dominated for many years, and find common ground with them, but also isn't afraid to push back and to see a county that has evolved and become more supportive of dealing with affordable housing, that's pushed harder on equity. I'm very proud of what our board has recently done, a very strong statement on diversity, inclusion, and equity, and backed it up with budgeting 5 staff people to run a department that's really going to be pushing hard on those issues, both in the way that how we handle and deal with employees, how we contract for work, for road projects, et cetera, and how we reach out to the community and get everyone involved. My own background is I did come to this country as an immigrant. I understand what it's like to be sort of the other. My instincts are very much to support the underdog, and I'm prepared to say that I'm not ready to support Peter Courtney in the next session if I'm in the state Senate. I'm prepared to do things differently. I'm not enraptured with any sense of uniqueness or specialness about the state Senate. We need to work well with the House and get progressive bills passed. I have the tact, but I also have the determination and stubbornness and fire to do that very thing. Plus, I just know this district. I've worked it a long time, and there's nothing substitute for really having lived here and worked here rather than simply parachuting into Washington County in the last half a year of a campaign.
Okay, I think that.
I'm curious. I want to follow up on one point. Where'd you immigrate from?
From the Netherlands. I was about 4.5 when my parents came here. So my first language.
Endorsement interview.
What's that? So my first language.
I think I remember that from a previous conversation.
My first language is Dutch, then Spanish, and then English. And I think that's important in the sense that it makes you realize there's more than one way of thinking and more than one way of understanding it. And understanding and having an appreciation for other cultures is something sort of baked into my own immigrant experience, which is one reason why I really enjoyed my 7 years on the board at Central Culture Hall.
Great. So we ask everyone in these endorsement interviews one fun question, or at least it's fun for us. And this cycle, it is what is the single strangest moment that you will remember from your quarantine during COVID-19? And Mr. Scouten, we'll start with you.
The strangest thing with the quarantine. I have to give that a thought for a moment. Yeah, give me a moment to think about that. I mean, it's just been general, just sort of the general tedium, I guess, of being here in the house quite a bit of the time and having to deal with really bringing all your work to the house as well is definitely a challenge.
I'm sure.
Well, I think the strangest thing for me, I'm quarantined with my family. I've got a 16 and an 18-year-old. And I think the strangest thing for me is being swept up in this whole Tiger King craziness. Like the fact that 34 million Americans watched what really is a train wreck and could not take my eyes off of it. And all of the memes and jokes that have come out. And by the way, they just released another episode. Super interested in that. It's something that's been pretty funny.
Well, I would say maybe the strangest thing when I think about this is this big run on toilet paper. Thank God about 2 weeks before this all started, it came down. For whatever reasons, we bought a bunch of rolls at Costco. So we're set on that department.
So you're the one that's hoarding the toilet paper? Is that what I'm hearing, Dick? Don't hoard the toilet paper, Dick. It's not okay.
No, we bought our share from a giant pile that was then existed at Costco. So we're set.
It doesn't count as hoarding if there was plenty of it.
Is that what it is? Okay, my bad.
All right, you cool cats and kittens. We've had a lovely endorsement interview. Please have a great day, and thank you so much for finding time for us.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
I like the reference to Joe Exotic. Very good. Okay. No, that was what's her face, who I think.
That's
Okay.
Carol Baskin.
Carol Baskin. The funniest thing I saw was somebody had put a sign up on their door that said, "Did Carol Baskin kill her husband? Yes, no." And for when they dropped off packages, they could vote by dropping off the package under a yes, no.
The best answer I've seen to that so far is someone who pointed out that we don't actually know that he's dead.
No, it's true. It's very true.
My theory is he's still alive.
He might be. It might be. Well, this has been fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Tess, you'll hit the button off of the
Bye-bye.
record.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
And what's the timeline, Aaron, for this?